Do you have trouble editing 4K or 8K footage on your older Mac? Well, this video is all about proxy mode in the new Final Cut Pro 10.4.9. Let's get into it. Real quick, if you're new here, I'm Chadwick. This is Creative Video Tips, where I help you create videos that make a difference and stand out. Subscribe right now if that's something you're into so you don't miss next week's tip. Okay, proxy mode. What is it? Well, the too long didn't read version of proxy mode is it's a way to make your large 4K or 8K files smaller, both in resolution and file size. And then it also is a way to make them playback smoother. So this right here is a 2015 iMac, and I can playback anything you give me. Give me some, Komodo Dragon, whatever it is, 8K Canon R5, the 12K Blackmagic that's going to come out. I know I can edit it because I can make the proxy files. Now, this new version of Final Cut Pro 10 has three awesome things that they've added for proxy mode. The first thing is you have options now. So you can either create your proxies in ProRes Proxy, which was the option before, and then you also have H.264. And H.264, as you know, you're usually shooting in H.264. You also deliver in H.264. And if you asked me a year ago, I would have never said, hey, maybe it's a good idea to edit in H.264. But I've been trying it out for the past month, and it's actually really good. With the Sony a7 III that I'm shooting on right now in 4K, 24p or whatever, let's say we have a 100 megabyte file. If you make a proxy of that using H.264, at 1080p, it makes it 8 megabytes. We're talking going from 100 megabytes to 8 megabytes. That's 8% of the size. That means you can fit a lot of media into a fairly small file size, and that makes it portable. So if you have another editor somewhere, you can send it off to them, no problem uploading it to a service like Frame.io or Dropbox or Google Drive, whatever you like to use. Real quick, let's jump in and I'll show you how to make the proxy files. Here's one of the ways you can go about making a proxy file within Final Cut Pro. So select the clip that you want to transcode, and then right click on it and you say transcode media, and then you got optimized media, which is a full res ProRes file, which is not what we want to do. We want to do create proxy media, and then you have your options here, ProRes Proxy and H.264. So I'm going to choose H.264, and this original clip is 4K. So if I do it at 50%, that's actually making a 1080p file for me, which is perfect. You can also choose this 1920 by 1080 and it'll give you the same result. So anyways, I'll choose 50%, click OK. And we can see up here in this little inspector window that it's starting to go to town on it. Okay, awesome. That clip is done transcoding. And we can take a look and see what the file size is by saying reveal proxy in media finder. And right here, this is inside my library is where I have it set to go. It says clip 9 or 38.3 megabytes. And then we can also take a look at what the original file was. So if we say reveal in finder, this one's 490 megabytes for that 4K file. So we're looking at a difference of 490 megabytes, and then this proxy one is 38 megabytes. So there you go, 8% of the file size. The bigger reason for me is not even so much that file size. It's the fact that I can use an older computer, right? So it cuts like a hot knife through butter, and I love that. And my day job, I have a beefier machine. It's one of those brand new Mac Pros. I'm still making proxies because it just makes the whole experience that much better. I can be more creative. I don't have to wait for dropped frames or stuttering skimmer and that sort of thing that maybe is going to happen with the 4K original media. I like to edit fast, and I know you're going to want to edit fast, so you're going to want to make proxies. One other way to make that proxy media is when you're importing a clip. You could say File, Import Media, and then just right off the bat, you could click on a clip and say, over here on the right, there's a transcode Create Proxy Media option. So if you knew right off the bat you wanted to make proxy files, you could do that there as well. All right, Another thing that is super sweet is they have a proxy preferred drop down menu. Now this is new, and what that means is you can have a timeline with your playback set so that you're looking at proxy files if you have them, and if you just have original media in there, it'll play that too. That you couldn't do that before. It was either all proxy or all original media. You know, what I would suggest is you bring all your stuff in, you transcode it and make proxies of it. And then if you get a pickup shot, or maybe it's a VFX shot, you don't have to hurry to transcode that to show someone what you're working on. You can just drop that in and you'll still see it and be able to work with it right away. And then if you go get coffee later or whatever, you can say, yeah, let's go and ahead and transcode that file. So it's super smooth if you keep working on it for the same project for several weeks and whatnot. Next, I want to show you the difference in the performance on my computer here with looking at original or optimized media playback. So by clicking that, you can see the timeline just flashed. So I can click and play that, and you know, like my day job, I have a beefier machine, so you can see that sort of stuttered there. It's also, it just takes longer to update. And then if I go down here to proxy preferred, which is this brand new option, so proxy preferred, it just switched all the clips that it knows there's a proxy to in the timeline to proxy, which is all of these clips here. And now things just really zip here on my skimmer. And if I try to play back something, it plays back like instantly. Large 4K or 8K files, smaller, both in resolution and file size. And it does that without dropping any frames. So that's awesome. Now the thing you have to watch for with that proxy preferred dropdown is when you go to export. You're going to want to make sure you switch back to the original or optimized media for that, because the export process, whatever it's called, it's gonna look at what that setting is. So you don't want to be exporting a final mastered version or even a review copy that's looking at compressing your compressed proxies. You want it to look at the original media. So that's just a word of warning, and it's built into there. So if you try doing it, it's going to say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? And you just click, oh, oops, you know, and go back and change it to original. So that's awesome. Another thing that's really cool about the new version of Final Cut is you can actually link to the proxy files made on another system. So this file number 8 here doesn't have proxy media, so if I went down here to File, Relink Files, there is now an option to say Relink Proxy Media. So maybe it's on set, you have a DIT that's making dailies in DaVinci Resolve. Oh, that's another word for proxy files. If you have heard the word dailies, that's what a proxy file is. It's just like the industry term, and if you're from England, I think it's called rushes. So I used to work with an editor, and he always called them rushes and would say good mate, and you know, all those. It was an interesting relationship. Anyways, getting back to it, you got dailies, you got rushes, and then, you know, offline editing is another term that gets thrown around a lot. And offline editing just means you're working with these low-res versions of the original media. It's much more friendly to create a story with, and it's much more portable and manageable. So you can create them in another app, and then you just link to them here in Final Cut. My preference, personally, is, you know, I just like to import the original media straight into Final Cut as a leave in place option, and then I create the proxy files and have the proxy files live in the library. And then as soon as I'm done editing and I've got my final video exported and it's all beautiful and everyone's happy and, you know, the world is rejoicing, at that point I will go ahead and say delete generated files, and we'll blow away and delete those proxy files, because, you know, we're done with the project and we don't need to take up any extra space, even though it isn't all that much space. So now you are a proxy master. You have no excuse for not using that old computer that could be making amazing videos, because guess what? You've got what it takes, and Final Cut Pro can help you get there. If you found this video useful at all, hit the like button, subscribe if you're into this kind of content, and if you have any questions, please leave a comment. I want to make sure I'm as clear as possible, and I want to make sure that I'm helping as many people as possible. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next video.